Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 p.m. right now. We were delayed a little bit with some technical difficulties, so we will be getting a little bit late, about 5 minutes. And there was a question where if there's a recording of this presentation be made available to the attendees, and it would be. We will send it out to everyone who has attended via YouTube link, as well as we will make sure that if you have any other requests, just let us know and we'll try to get that done to you as soon as possible. Good afternoon, Elba. Thank you so much for joining. All right. Hi, everyone. This is Kevin Leong from New York City Emergency Management. Thank you so much for joining. We are here today with FDNY with Captain Paul Colabella. I hope I got that right.
Yep.
And yeah, we are here for our October Ready Up Fire Safety presentation or webinar. And today we do have some housekeeping rules to always share with you. Please keep all your questions for the end. If there are any difficulties that you do experience, just let me know and we'll try to get that resolved to you as soon as possible. And we'll start from here. So again, thank you so much, Captain, for joining us and giving this presentation. The floor is yours and you may start whenever you want to.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here to share some valuable information on fire safety. We'll talk a little bit how to prevent some of the most common causes of fires, the importance of early detection, and how to plan based on what type of building you live in. Your evacuation plan would vary. So we average about 60 to 65 fire deaths per year the last few years. You could see last year was 63. The COVID year didn't have much of an impact on the fire deaths. We're hoping, webinars like this and sharing information will decrease that number. We're always trying to do what we can to decrease fire fatalities. This year, 2021, we're pretty much on average. We're almost 3/4 done with the year. I think we're at 45 fatal fires. Not much has changed with the most common causes. This year, though, it's been a few more seniors than we've seen in recent years. I'm not sure why that is, but a lot of the fire deaths were seniors. And a couple of newer fires. They weren't fire deaths, but we've been seeing a trend with some of these nickel cadmium batteries that are becoming so popular in these electric scooters and all of these electric bikes and stuff that are overheating. Most fires occur after we go to sleep, and fires go up in the winter months. We're heading into the holiday season in the winter months, so we should expect an increase in fires. Most people get burned, and most fires start in the kitchen. Okay. Most fire fatalities have to do with smoking, which happens a lot in the bedroom. And the smoking fires continue to be the deadliest fires because of the just the rapid increase, the rapid fire and smoke spread that gets involved with a mattress. And they're very hard to escape from fires that start in the mattress from smoking. People find it very hard to escape from that type of fire. That's why it's a high fire death around smoking. These are some of the circumstances that contribute to a fatal fire. You're 50 to 60% more likely to die in a fire without a working smoke detector. That's why we'll talk about that Sound the Alarm program where FDNY is partnered with Red Cross to get working smoke detectors in everybody's house that needs them anywhere in New York City. We'll share that later. Not having a plan is critical, because really what's critical in escaping a fire is remaining calm, right? It doesn't matter how big, strong, or smart you are. If you panic, you're going to really decrease your chances of survival. When you panic, you make bad decisions. When you're calm, you make good decisions. So how do we remain calm? The best two ways are early detection with a working smoke detector, and by having a plan, by knowing what to do when you smell smoke, when you hear the fire alarm, when you see fire, right? So that's critical. We get out, we stay out, right? We don't re-enter a building. Time is critical, right? If you're lucky enough to get out the first time, the last thing you want to do is go back inside for anything. That's why part of your plan will be to discuss a safe meeting place with your family outside. You take attendance, you make sure everybody's out. We don't want anybody re-entering the fire building. And that happens sometimes when you're not sure where the kids are or people are unaccounted for. And very often they're just wandering around outside. Kids sometimes go with neighbors that think they're helping, but when parents get out of a burning building and they don't know where the children are, very often they re-enter the fire building. So it's critical part of any fire plan to have a safe meeting place that everybody is aware of and understands the importance of meeting there. And having a fire drill, right? The kids have them at school all the time, but you're 10 times more likely to have a fire in your home than you are in school. So you got to have a plan, okay? Fire, the most common place where people get burned and where fires start is in the kitchen, and it comes back to unattended cooking. Unattended cooking is just us multitasking, right? You'll start a meal, you might be frying oil, getting ready to heat that oil up to fry whatever it is, vegetables, chicken wings, meatballs, whatever it might be. And, you don't have time to help the kids with the homework or take the laundry out of the washing machine and throw it in the dryer, or take a phone call where you lose track of time. So you have to stay close to the kitchen. You don't want to leave it unattended. You don't want to run to the store for a last minute ingredient that you don't have. That's where we're getting into trouble. Another part of that rush mentality is we're cooking on high flames, right? Just to heat that oil up faster because we're doing too much. So I just remind everybody that when you're cooking, just cook. If you have kids at home, you want to turn the handles back inside so they don't reach up and pull something down where they'd get burned. And you always want to wear tight fitting sleeves, all right? A lot of people get burned that way. And also there's no substitute for an oven mitt. People are in the habit of using dish towels to grab hot handles, and those dish towels hang down just like loose clothing would, okay? You want to keep anything that's flammable away from the stovetop. We're finding that the electric stoves are actually more dangerous than the gas. People are surprised by that, but the reason is the newer electric cooktops, the modern ones, have a nice solid glass surface. And people are misusing that for additional counter space, especially in smaller apartments. You never have enough counter space. So sometimes people would put paper towels or paper plates or a dish rag on the glass top, close to the glass top. Sometimes you'll put a thermos where you want to keep coffee hot and you'll put it on the glass top. And sometimes you don't realize when those surfaces are heating up, when those burners are warming up underneath the glass. Sometimes you just need to lean into that. Mistakenly, you're reaching for something in the cabinet that's above the stove, and you just lean into that and you turned it on and you're not sure you turned it on. So you don't want to keep anything on or near the stove, especially the new glass ones. Obviously, no aluminum foil or metal objects in a microwave. Be careful with the self-cleaning oven features. They work on extremely high temperatures where the door locks. Fires started that way. You want to keep that area clean, right? A clean house is a safe house. The more clutter there is, the harder it is to escape. The more things get in your way. It slows the fire department down. It increases the fire load. And that goes around the kitchen too, and the stove. If you let too much grease build up inside the oven, underneath the range hood above, even your cookware, right? You want to make sure that you replace it when you should, and you keep it clean. This has to do with the protective knobs. In other words, where you have young children in the house, when they're curious and they reach up and they're playing around, and you don't want them turning the oven on or the stove on. So you could get the safety covers. They're a couple of bucks in a hardware store, and multiple dwelling landlords are required to provide them. And it's just a plastic knob that would spin over the dials to prevent kids from turning the stove on. So what do we do if we were distracted and we come back to the kitchen and we've got a situation? You've got a flaming pan, a smoking pan. With a gloved hand, you want to, if you can, turn off the burner, okay? And you never want to use water, especially on a grease fire or hot oil. If you've never seen that, it's like a mini bomb going off. The flames will quadruple in size. What you had coming out of the pan is now all of a sudden it's reaching the kitchen cabinets above. So if you don't have a dry chemical extinguisher, which would be appropriate for a grease fire, just an ABC is good for paper, plastics, electrical, and grease. It's a powder. And the powder is very similar to what's inside ordinary Arm & Hammer baking soda. This is a mini fire extinguisher right here. I'm holding it and it looks like a plastic shaker bottle. I know you're used to seeing it in a cardboard box that you keep in the fridge. But if you are out and about in the dollar store or wherever, pick up one of these, and it's a very, very handy item where you could come to your pan and it'll douse the fire, okay? Very similar to what's inside a fire extinguisher. The only difference here in the extinguisher is there's a capsule of nitrogen gas that's added that allows this powder to come out under pressure and shoot about 6 to 10 feet when you squeeze the lever. But all of these things are good for your fire protection plan. If you have a fire extinguisher, if you have some Arm & Hammer baking soda, check your cookware. Make sure you have a tight fitting lid that goes with your favorite fry pan, because if you don't have an extinguisher, you could smother it just by, with a gloved hand, slide a tight fitting lid over it. And you'll take away the air and the fire goes out. Right? Fire needs three things. It needs fuel, it needs a heat source, and it needs air. You take away any one of those three and the fire goes out. So if you take away the air with the lid, the fire will go out. But don't take it back off. It'll reignite once you supply it with fresh air. So check your cookware. Make sure you have a tight fitting lid. Keep it around if you're frying. You could use a cookie tray, but it doesn't quite seal off all the air. There's nothing like a tight fitting lid or a dry chemical extinguisher or Arm & Hammer baking soda. Check your extinguisher if you have one. There's usually a date stamped on the bottom. Mine says 2017, so I know this is good for 10 years, right? 2027. And you'd want to replace it, because after that, the powder inside starts to cake up and it won't come out once you squeeze the lever. It may still show that it's properly charged with the arrow in the green, but replace it after 10 years because like I said, the powder will start to cake up. ABC fire extinguisher, right? Ordinary wood, paper, plastics. B would be liquids like grease, oil, paint, lacquer, and C would be electrical. So you can't go wrong. Remember the acronym PASS if you've never used a fire extinguisher. Pull the pin. We always aim at the base of the fire, the bottom of the flames, not up at the top. You'd squeeze the lever and sweep side to side is the proper way to use a fire extinguisher, with your back towards the exit, because if the fire is too big, you sometimes push it, and you don't want to push fire in a direction that's going to cut off your means of escape. So handy little item you could pick up at the hardware store for 15 bucks. Electrical fires have been a major cause. We had a couple of very, very big fires this year. We had an 8-alarm fire in Jackson Heights. 40 families lost their apartments. Everything in their apartment came back to an overloaded power strip. A power strip doesn't increase the amperage or wattage in your house, right? It's just a convenience item, lets you split power from an outlet. This is okay next to the bed where you've got possibly the table lamp, the alarm clock, the phone charger. It's okay near the TV where you've got your cable box and your TV monitor, maybe near the computer for your router and your modem, stuff like that, but never in the kitchen, never on the kitchen counter, never for an appliance. An appliance is simply anything that gets hot or cold, right? And there's tons of them, right? Your air conditioner, your refrigerator, your electric heater, your toaster oven, your coffee maker, your microwave, your iron, your hair dryer, your curling iron, your electric blanket. There's just so many more things now we're plugging in. So to see this on a kitchen counter with all of those things plugged in is a recipe for disaster. I guarantee this thing is going to overheat, it's going to break down, it's going to melt, you're going to have a fire. Appliances have alternating currents. They heat up, they cool down. A lot of times there's compressors and thermostats, and wires heat up, wires cool down, wires expand, wires contract. That's not meant to go through an extension cord. It should be plugged directly into the wall outlet, and preferably the only thing in the wall outlet if you can. And try to get into the habit of unplugging those appliances when you're not using them. In my house, we're done with the toaster oven, we unplug it. The coffee maker gets unplugged when you're done. Obviously the hair dryer, the curling iron, a lot of times you forget to even turn it off. Just get into the habit of unplugging it whenever you can, right? And there's no doubt. So you never want to ignore any frayed wires, or you don't ever want to ignore something electrical burning, that smell. You never want to ignore a spark that you might see around an outlet, or sometimes you just see little black soot above the outlet. Some of those outlets get loose inside the wall. The wires separate from the screw. If you've got a little spark around an outlet, it's very likely you have fire in the wall. When there's fire in the wall, it's in the ceiling, it's across the roof, it's a lot of damage. Anything you buy electrical, you always want to look for the UL label. It's been tested. You don't want to buy any of that stuff at the dollar store. You don't ever want to compromise anything that has a ground attached to the outlet. You want to make sure that everything has a lot of room to breathe. There's not a lot of dust. You want to make sure that you don't keep these wires curled up like when you buy them from the store. You want to let everything expand. You don't want to push furniture too tightly up against anything that's plugged in behind, let's say, the headboard in the bedroom or a big dining room hutch or break front, or if any kind of furniture. Everybody likes to push it tightly up against the wall, but if there's an outlet behind there and something's plugged in, you can't put too much stress on that cord. So that's a recipe for disaster. And also now around the holiday season, when the Christmas lights come out of the attic, you want to inspect them for any kind of insulation breakdown. You want to look at those, the plastic that covers the wires. Any bare wire that's put on a nail or a gutter is also a recipe for disaster. Avoid plugging in high wattage appliances in the same outlet. We talked about that. Never use an extension cord with appliances that get hot or cold. Take a look at all of your equipment. You might want to switch also to LED lighting. LED lights burn a lot cooler. You'll save a lot of money too if you replace your lamps with LED bulbs. The halogen lights that you have in your recessed lighting get very, very hot. Fires have started in recessed lighting, in the ceiling, in furniture. If you could replace those halogen bulbs with LED lights, you could save money, and they're cool. You could actually change the bulb when it's lit. It doesn't get hot. So that's a great idea. And switch to LED holiday lights also. They're safer. They don't burn hot. When one bulb burns out, the rest of them stay lit. And you just want to be careful when you're stringing the lights for the Christmas decorations. You don't want to sacrifice safety just to make the house look nice. The power strips and surge protectors are convenience items. The surge protector just has an added feature. It still doesn't increase your capacity. It'll just trip when it senses a surge. In other words, after a blackout, when Con Ed restores full power, you may get a surge. You may get a surge during a storm, and it'll just protect your expensive electronic equipment from getting damaged. But you don't want to rely too much on extension cords or blocks, I call them, that you plug in and you split 2 outlets into 6. You can see from the picture there, that's just a recipe for disaster. I know you don't always have enough outlets or where you need them. We're plugging in a lot more things now than we ever did if you're in an older apartment. I sympathize, but you may have to call an electrician in if you're relying on extension cords, because technically extension cords are only designed for temporary use. Home heating, like I said, we're entering into the winter months where you've got space heaters, electric heaters. You want to make sure that you maintain them, that you don't put them too close to combustibles. Inspect your heating equipment. Space heaters, make sure you turn them off before you go to bed. They need to be at least 3 feet from the couch or the sofa or the bedding or the blanket. You don't want to use an extension cord with a space heater, because a space heater, right, gets hot like we talked about, and you're not to use that with an extension cord, anything that gets hot or cold, okay? You should have an automatic shut off and something that when it tips over, it shuts off as well. I think the little mini radiators that are oil filled are the best. The other ones that is basically just a toaster oven with a fan on it could be more dangerous, is more dangerous. Only use equipment marked with UL. Kerosene and propane heaters are illegal in New York City. So you don't ever want to use those, obviously, or if you see them, it needs to be reported. Okay, smokers. I realize smoking is kind of not fashionable anymore. If you think back when you were kids, or grandparents and uncles, were a lot more people were smoking. They could smoke wherever they want, but I realize that it is an addiction, and people that are still smoking, the world is really not accommodating smokers anymore, right? You can't even buy a car that has an ashtray anymore. So I feel that anyone that's smoking is doing it on the QT mostly. They don't have proper ashtrays. People are walking around with plastic cups. There's no ashtrays like you used to see around the house, those heavy glass ashtrays. People have no really proper way to discard their cigarette butts when they're done. They're putting the butts in the kitchen trash, trying to get away with it. They're flicking the butt out the window. It lands in the leaves. It lights up the leaves. The leaves communicate to the house siding. Fire comes up the wall. So that's why you're 7 times more likely to die or have a fire than non-smokers. It's quite obvious, the reasons, right? You've got lighters around, you've got matches laying around. You don't have the ashtrays as accessible as they used to. The world is really not accommodating people that are smoking. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure that you have the glass ashtray, that you put water in it, that the butts are fully put out, nothing smoldering, discarding smoking materials. Usually will smolder for a little while, but once it ignites, and especially like in bedding or in furniture, it's a very fast moving fire, very smoky, toxic fire. And where people smoke, right? They're smoking in the comfort of their own home, where they might be drinking alcohol, they might be on medication, they may fall asleep, they smoke in bed. So it's just, the reasons are obvious why, you're 7 times more likely to have a fire than a non-smoker. And really, if you think about what's burning nowadays, the difference in fires, how they've changed. 20, 30 years ago, if you think about, your TV was in a big wooden box. Now it's a hunk of plastic and wires hanging on the wall. Your mattress was filled with old-fashioned cotton that burned slow, and your furniture was solid wood. Now your furniture is wood chips glued together like a composite. So mostly now, any fire now is almost like a chemical fire, because what's burning is plastic. It's not like 20, 30 years ago. Things burned slower, a little more mild. Now burns hot, burns fast. The smoke is thick, toxic, black smoke. When a cigarette ash sets into a mattress, like I said, it'll smolder for a while, but once that polyurethane foam ignites, it's very hard to escape that fire. You have no time. Trust me, you have no time. We talk about smoking, we talk about candles, okay? Candles will always remain popular. I mean, we have a love affair with candles. They smell nice, they create ambiance, they look great. People use them for religious reasons, but they are dangerous. You're lighting a little fire, people forget about it, they go to bed, they don't put it out, they go out to dinner, they come home, the candle is still lit. You have to be responsible. Some candles are more dangerous than others, obviously. The ones that are tall and skinny, you're gonna tip over, those are the worst. This candle you see here won't tip over. It's got a wide base, but the flame is still exposed. I guess the safest real candle would be in a glass jar, where the flame is inside the glass. When you're done, you put the lid on it, take away the air, the fire will go out. It won't tip over. But you can't beat the LED candle. They've come a long way. They actually flicker. It looks great. You combine this with an oil diffuser to give you the aroma you're looking for, the natural scents. is a good combination if you could try to break away from the candle. And the oil diffusers are good. They're better and safer than the plug-in air wicks or those things that the oils that you use to plug in. I mean, that creates heat, right? It heats up and it disperses the scented oil. But people don't monitor them. When the oil's evaporated, now you're just heating up a piece of plastic that's in the wall, and you can't let that go on for months and months. It's good if you have an outlet that's attached to a wall switch. You could put it on for a few hours and then turn it off, and you could monitor it that way. But you're better off with an oil diffuser, because even some of those plug-in air fresheners have been linked to some carcinogens or formaldehyde, and they're not the safest things to be inhaling. But be careful with the candles. Like I said, you want to have them with inside a globe. Keep them away from the curtains or anything that could get in its path. Small kids, and where you have candles, you have lighters and stuff around. You want to try to avoid relying on candles during a power outage. That's why part of your fire safety plan would be to make sure that you have working batteries in your flashlight. Early detection is the best way to remain calm. You're 50% more likely to die in a fire without one. So please, when we're done or when you go home, make sure that yours work. You want to make sure you have at least one combo, CO and smoke, on every floor, because CO is the silent killer, right? You're relying 100% on the detector to let you know it's there. Just a reminder. You can't see it, smell it, or taste it. People just fall asleep and they never wake up again. That's how scary that is. And whole families have been killed at an incident. So it's no joke. And it could come from incomplete combustion from a faulty hot water heater, faulty heating system. You could have a family of squirrels decided to build a nest in your chimney, and now CO is not escaping from the chimney. And there's a lot of ways it can creep back in. A generator running close by. You're from emergency management, so you're aware of a lot of these things. Okay, the detectors that you're providing now have a 10-year sealed lithium battery, so we're not required to change the battery twice a year. Next week we're changing the clocks. We always had the campaign, change your clock, change your battery. So November 7th, Saturday night, we changed the clocks, we would change the battery. And I always felt bad asking elderly people that live alone to get on a ladder, reach over their head and change that 9-volt battery, but not anymore now. You've got a new detector with a 10-year seal lithium battery, which is great. So we're encouraging everybody to reach out. I think we have a slide on the Sound the Alarm program coming up. We'll give you information on how to reach out to the Red Cross and get us in there to provide these and install these for free. But we still ask that you test them once a month. Just press that button, let the detector go through its cycle so everybody in the house is familiar what that sound is. Nobody's confusing it for any other beeping that sometimes the refrigerator door is open, makes a beep, or everything's beeping. But you should run through the cycle, let everyone in the family understand and recognize what your detector sounds like. Some of them talk to you, so it's a good idea that you test it once a month. A single chirp every 30 to 60 seconds would let you know that it's time to change the battery. We want to get away from those. Again, just upgrade. Not only if you need them to begin with, but if you have the old ones, reach out and you'll upgrade to the newer ones. CO has 4 short beeps. You want to make sure you understand the difference, all right? You don't want to have your detector trying to alert you that you've got CO and then you're looking for smoke. So understand it's 3 beeps for smoke, 4 rapid beeps for CO. Anybody that's hard of hearing, we have special detectors that work on a bed shaker. It'll go off, and then a bed shaker, a little like a hockey puck type disc, will be under the mattress and it'll shake. So if anybody is concerned about that, You could reach out to the Red Cross when you're requesting alarms and let them know that we need to provide an alarm, a life alert alarm for hard of hearing. This is what they look like. It's linked up to the detector. It's a powerful pulsating bed shaker. This is the Sound the Alarm program. The Red Cross and the FDNY are in partnership with we've got a Homeland Security grant. We've got thousands of detectors. Like I said, the new ones with a 10-year battery. It's got dual sensing technology that eliminates nuisance alarms, which is great too. They don't go off when it detects too much steam from the shower, or you burnt something in the kitchen. You'll eliminate nuisance alarms, which is great. Just reach out to the Red Cross by dialing that number, or you could go on the website, just Google Red Cross, sound the alarm. You'll have a questionnaire. It's just asking you when is most convenient for us to come out and share that information. That's the only thing we want to do, is get these detectors where you need them. We're not looking for anything else. Okay, so how do we plan? It really depends on what type of building you live in, but having a plan along with early detection is the best way for you to remain calm, which, like I said earlier, is the most critical thing in you escaping alive, is remaining calm. You want to have two ways out, obviously. You'd have a primary exit and an alternate exit. You don't want to waste time. If you talk to people that have survived fires, they'll all tell you about the same thing, about how fast it spread. Fires start small, but they double in size every 1 minute. If you could just think about that, right? I'll repeat that. Fires start small, but they double in size every 1 minute. So it's really not long before you've got a very fast moving fire, okay? And like I said earlier, what's igniting is very, very toxic. The smoke is so toxic, the off-gassing from all the plastics, that the smoke that accumulates at the ceiling actually becomes ignitable. When it reaches a certain temperature, the smoke will ignite. That's what we call like a flashover. But it's just to give you an indication on how fires have changed based on what's burning now. And even in the kitchen, you got about a minute to put that fire out with the extinguisher in the kitchen, because after about a minute, it's communicating to the cabinets above. And very likely those kitchen cabinets are like what I said earlier, is just composite. It's not a solid door. It's probably particle board, little chips held together with glue. Part of your fire plan requires you to understand what type of building you live in. Right? If you live in a fireproof building, right? It's a high-rise building that's taller than 6 stories. It's constructed of all metal, concrete, steel, glass. The structure doesn't burn. Fire does not spread from one apartment to another, or from one floor to another. So your plan would be to shelter in place, stay put, right? Unless the fire is in your apartment, you're much safer in your apartment, shelter in place. The last thing you want to do is put yourself in a smoke-filled hallway, a smoke-filled stairwell, or an elevator. People have been killed 8 floors above the fire floor in the stairwell in a fireproof multiple dwelling, right? Sometimes the stairwells are actually used to funnel smoke up and out. You want to stay out of the stairwell. You want to stay out of the hallway. Fires in fireproof multiple dwellings burn very hot. In other words, in that hallway is all cinder block. It doesn't absorb heat. So if fire gets out of the apartment and into the hallway, and you've got a wind shift, those high-rise buildings have a lot of wind movement. You could hear it. When you open the door to the stairwell, you could hear it around the elevator. And if a window fails outside the fire apartment and the door to the hallway is left open, you got a wind shift. Firefighters and civilians have been incinerated in the hallways of fireproof multiple dwellings. Stay put, stay in your apartment, but it comes back to remaining calm. And understand what type of building you live in and remain calm. If you live in a non-fireproof building, you have to leave immediately if the fire is anywhere in your building. Okay, it's combustible. The walls burn, fire spreads from one floor to another, from one apartment to another. So you want to evacuate. You could tell you live in a non-fireproof building. There's very likely fire escapes on the outside. It may look like it's a nice, safe brick building, but underneath the brick is combustible material. You want to discuss 2 ways out. Obviously, you'd like to exit the door to the hallway, down the interior stairs into the lobby and out into the street would be the easiest, but you don't always have that choice. People panic, they make bad decisions, and a common bad decision is not closing the door to the fire apartment behind you. People don't realize the impact that has on the fire. Fire loves fresh air. It's always looking for it. It's always going towards an area of low pressure. Anytime we could close a door, whether it's to a closet, a bedroom, an apartment, a stairwell, a lobby door, limit the airflow, you'll limit the fire spread. That 8-alarm fire in Jackson Heights, where 40 families lost everything in their apartment, had to do with some bad decisions and some panic decisions by leaving the door to the fire apartment open. And there was a delay in calling 911, and that allowed the fire to spread rapidly. So please close the door behind you anytime you could. So you don't always have that option of evacuating a non-fireproof multiple dwelling out the hallway and down the stairs. If you open that door and you got smoke-filled hallway, you got to close that door and go to your fire escape. Check your fire escape window, make sure it opens easily, make sure it stays open, make sure you can remove the screen, make sure there's not an air conditioner in the way, make sure there's nothing that's going to slow you down. Nobody wants to go out onto a fire escape, but a little reassurance, the New York City Fire Department has an average response time of 4.5 minutes. So it's very rare that somebody is out on a fire escape and has to start making their way down to the street before a firefighter is on his way up to assist you. So rest assured, we'll be there quickly. Don't hesitate, right? Time is critical, and have your plan and follow your plan. If you got a fire on your floor, the fire could be on your fire floor, right? You live in 5A and there's a fire in 5F. And guess what? Somebody ran out of 5F and they left the door open to the fire, to their apartment. So now they just filled up the hallway with smoke, and now they forced everybody on that floor and above likely to now go to plan B, which is the fire escape. So realize the importance of closing the door, and realize that sometimes you have to go to your alternate means of egress. You don't have much time. Like I said, if you've got a fire that started on the stove top, you got about a minute to put that fire out with your extinguisher. But time is critical. Like I said, a fire doubles in size every 1 minute. And once the smoke starts to build, it's very toxic. It's very choking. You can't take much of that. If you are in a smoke-filled room, the first thing you got to do is get your nose on the floor. If there's any fresh air, it's right at the bottom. And you will get low and you'll try to find a wall. When you find a wall, put your hand on the wall and it stays there, and you follow that wall until you come to a door or a window. And that's eventually going to get you out. All right. And that's what you're looking for. But you don't want to waste time gathering valuables or anything. I mean, even pets, I mean, anything could be replaced, but you can't be replaced, and time is critical. So you want to get out, and you want to stay out, right? You get low and go, you get out and you stay out. Okay, close the door on your way out. Use the stairways, exit the building. You want to avoid the elevators. 911, all right? You can relay that information to us. If you are trapped, try to close as many doors as you can. Practice these drills, talk to your family about it. Kids, right? I mean, if you have special needs kids also, they are very, into this. I don't think they'd fight you on having a little fire drill. A lot of times they can provide a good input and let them pick out the safe meeting place, right? They're much more likely to go to that safe meeting place if it was their idea, to go to the lamppost, the big oak tree, the bus stop, the schoolyard across the street. Let them pick it. You could wrap them in a blanket to help them feel a little safe. Recap. All right, the kitchen is where most people get burned. Bedrooms are most likely a place where mattress fires start that are deadly fires, very hard to escape from. We're entering into the winter season where fire incidence goes up because we're heating and we're cooking more. We're using more electrical equipment. We're more distracted. So those are the reasons why fire incidence goes up in the winter months. Be careful if you smoke or if you're living with people that smoke. Realize that, the world is not accommodating to smokers anymore, and they're having a harder time discarding their cigarette butts. Watch your power strips. You don't want to use them on the kitchen counter where you've got everything, the coffee maker, the George Foreman grill, the air fryer. And there's so many more things now that we need and use in the kitchen. You don't want to leave these things plugged in, okay? All your electrical equipment should be unplugged when you're not using it. You're 50 to 60% or much more likely to die. I don't know the exact numbers. I think it's 50% to die in a fire without a working smoke alarm. And there's no excuse not to have one now, since you could get them for free and you could get them installed for free. All right. Having a plan and early detection is the best way to remain calm, which is the key element in escaping. Okay. Check your exits. Make sure you have two ways out. Sometimes the second way out is just onto a roof of a setback in a private dwelling or the back door, or sometimes just to a window. Right. You don't want to panic and hide in a closet, hide under a bed, hide in the bathtub. Like I said, give us a chance. We've got 4.5 minute response time and we'll find you, but don't make it harder. Know your exit routes. Make sure your window's open. Review this with your family. All right. Make sure you have smoke detectors where you need them. There's no limit on these detectors. If you live in a house with 4 floors, you may need 8 of these. And we'll install them where you need them, okay? Leave home immediately. Keep flammable materials in safe areas. Like I said, a clean house is a safe house. Don't overuse your power strips. The kitchen is a no-play zone for the kids. Don't wander too far away from your cooking. Make sure you're responsible with your candles, your matches, your lighters, your cigarette butts. And we got through in a very timely manner, about 45, 50 minutes, which I think is perfect. And we'll turn it back over to the host if he wants to open the floor up for Q&A. I'd be happy to answer.
Awesome. Captain, thank you so much for this. And this was great. So we are just going to talk a little bit. We just talked about fire safety. We will also be talking just a little bit about emergency preparedness. It'll be really quick since I know everyone has already basically seen our emergency preparedness presentations, but we always do want to go over this just in case if anyone does need a little refresher. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Awesome. And I believe everyone can see this at the moment. There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much again, Captain. And we will just go over this quick presentation too as well. So just to talk a little bit about emergency management, we are the city's interagency coordinating department for various emergencies that happens throughout the city. We want to help New Yorkers before, during, and after emergencies through preparedness, education, and response. And our agency is responsible for coordinating emergency planning and response for all types and scales of emergencies. It is staffed by more than 200 dedicated professionals with diverse backgrounds in areas of expertise, including individuals assigned from other city agencies such as the fire department, the police department, and Department of Transportation, so on and so forth. Moving forward, we are going to talk a little bit about community engagement. The community engagement team is basically making sure that we prepare New Yorkers and engage with the community for all different types of preparedness events for any type of emergency that may occur. We have multiple programs within the community engagement program, as well as other programs within the entire emergency management department. We have Ready New York, which is the individual preparedness campaign, which educates New Yorkers about the hazards that they may face and encourages everyone to prepare for any type of emergency. We also have our community emergency response team, also known as CERT, which is basically a group of people who are volunteers and trained in basic response skills, including fire safety, light search and rescue, disaster medical operations, and traffic control. The CERT teams support their local communities by assisting with emergency education and response throughout the year 365. And they have been a huge asset for us for the past however long they've been active within New York City. And we also have our community preparedness program, which brings together local leaders to promote grassroots emergency preparedness and volunteerism. And also we have our Partners in Preparedness program, which really helps organizations and small businesses and businesses prepare their employees, services, and facilities for disasters and any other types of emergencies. So moving forward, we want to know how to be prepared. And the best way to do that in this day and age is you can either request a My Emergency Plan from nyc.gov/readynewyork or download the My Emergency Plan from nyc.gov/readynewyork. And within this book has all the different types of steps and tools that you can use and information that you can receive on how to be prepared for any type of emergency that may come your way, including fires. So within that plan, there's really 3 simple steps on how to be prepared. Is how can we make a plan? How do you gather supplies? And how do you stay informed? By making a plan is a very simple way of having a list of things that you have predetermined on what you need to do for specific emergencies. In case for a fire, how do we evacuate? Where are my evacuation points? Where are my meeting points? That is how you make a plan, by having that step-by-step list and making sure that your family knows these plans inside and out so people are properly prepared. Gathering supplies. Fires make you evacuate your homes sometimes, but also sometimes in different types of emergencies, you would have to stay in your home, such as a winter weather emergency where people are asked to shelter in place. So when you gather supplies, you must make sure that you have the right supplies for every situation that may occur. People are different, even within their families. Men are different from women, of course. And we want to make sure that the supplies that you have is catered specifically to you. And some people may have dietary restrictions or medical things that they need in order to support their lives on a day-to-day basis. So make sure that when you do gather your supplies, don't just go off a list you find online or from neighbors or friends. Make sure that these supplies and this list that you have is catered specifically to you and your family. And as we move forward, we also want to know how to stay informed. Making sure that we stay informed and get the most up-to-date information is the key to being prepared. Knowing the weather, knowing the most up-to-date tips, such as these new fire detectors and smoke detectors that can last 10 years, is really, really good information to make sure that you are properly prepared in the most efficient way possible. And new information is always coming out. So being on top of that, staying informed is always the most important step in being prepared. And again, this was a quick one. If you do want more presentations, please email us at readyny@oem.nyc.gov in order to get a presentation from us at Emergency Management to really dive in on how to be properly prepared for emergency situations. And I want to leave the floor open now for questions if anyone has any. Awesome. Captain, there is a question. People are asking, are you familiar with fire extinguishing balls? And if yes, do you recommend them?
I saw one for the first time. It was something that was shown, it was actually something that was hanging from above the stove near the hood, and it exploded and it put the fire out. But I really don't have enough experience with the fireball to endorse it or not. I know it's not something that we use in the FDNY, and here at Fire Safety Education, we don't really, endorse it either. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about that. And
Awesome.
There's another question here. What if the hearing impaired person is not in bed? I mean, it along with the bed shaker, it has an extremely high decibel, a very loud tone that would go off. I guess it would depend on, the level of hearing, if any, is that the hard of hearing has. I don't know if there's somebody that's completely deaf. I guess it wouldn't help, but there are people that, just have hearing aids. I guess it would help in that regard where there is an audible and there and a strobe, but that wouldn't benefit anybody that was hard of hearing. But that's it. A very loud audible.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Another question that I have here is, what type of fire extinguisher is best for a small car fire?
I would stick with the ABC because this you could put out a lot of fire when it's small. It's a small enough, and the CO would put out anything that would be burning on the car if there was any like oil or anything that was burning. So I would say stick with the ABC. Might be a good idea to go to the hardware store and pick up a 2-pack if you want to keep one in the car. If you want to keep one near the kitchen, but not too close to the stove. Another good idea might to keep one in the bedroom where the parents are, if they have to sometimes maybe just clear a path if fire is advanced, to get down the hallway to the other bedrooms. You stick with the ABC.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Captain. Yes, and also I want to add a little bit more on that. If you do feel unsafe within the fire, honestly, the best thing you can do is really call 911 and let the fire department take care of these as well. Just making sure that you are safe is one of the most important things as well. The next question that I have is, how can I get a PowerPoint? So Captain, would it be okay for you to email me the slides and I can send it over to everyone within a PDF format? That way things can't be edited, and we'll also date it to the time of the presentation. So all the information is only accurate as of today, October 28th at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. now. And if you can do that, that'd be great. We'll send that out as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. Yes. So
You're very welcome.
In the next couple of days, we'll compile the video as well as the slides and make sure to get it to everyone who is within this this presentation. That way you guys can have the information needed. And again, if you guys have any other questions, please just let us know. Call 311. They have the best people to give you the best information on a timely manner. It seems like everyone has asked their questions already. Again, I want to thank the FDNY and thank you, Kevin Colabello. I hope I pronounced it right again.
Yeah, it's fine.
Perfect. For this fire safety presentation, for being here and supporting the city of New York. And if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can also reach out to me at readyny@oem.nyc.gov. And we'll go from there. And I hope to see everyone in November.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so
Great.
much and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.